Have you ever stood in the snack aisle, staring at two chocolate bars that look almost identical, but one says cacao and costs like twice as much? You're probably thinking, wait, is this just a fancy way to spell cocoa? What's the deal here? It's a super common question, and honestly, the answer is way more interesting than you'd think. That little one-letter difference isn't just about sounding bougie. It actually changes the flavor, the nutritional punch, and yeah, definitely the price tag. So, if you've ever felt that flicker of confusion, you're in the right place. We're about to dive deep into the chocolate rabbit hole and figure out what's really going on with cacao versus cocoa. Is one actually better for you? Does it taste different? And are you getting ripped off? Let's get into it. First things first, let us clear this up. Both cacao and cocoa come from the exact same place, the Theobroma cacao tree. This tree grows these big, funky-looking pods, and inside those pods are beans. That's our starting line for all things chocolate. So, if they start as the same bean, how do they end up so different? It all comes down to processing. Think of it like this. It's the journey from the bean to the bar that creates the two distinct personalities we know as cacao and cocoa. The key difference is heat. How much heat is applied and at what stage totally changes the game. Let's start with cacao. When you see the word cacao on a package, it generally means the product was made from beans that were minimally processed and kept at low temperatures. A lot of brands will talk about cold pressing the beans. This process separates the fatty part, which becomes cacao butter, from the solids, which are ground into cacao powder. The whole idea is to keep the beans as close to their raw, natural state as possible. Because they haven't been blasted with high heat, they retain a lot of their original enzymes and nutrients. The flavor profile of raw cacao is something else. It's intense, earthy, and can be quite bitter, not in a bad way, but in a strong, complex way. If you're a fan of super dark coffee or unsweetened espresso, you'll probably vibe with the taste of pure cacao. It's bold, it's a little fruity, and it definitely doesn't taste like your standard milk chocolate. Now, let's flip the script and talk about cocoa. Cocoa is the one most of us grew up with. It's the flavor of cozy hot chocolate on a winter night, the rich taste in a classic fudge brownie. The journey to cocoa involves roasting the cacao beans at high temperatures. This roasting process is a game changer. It kills off some of the bitterness, mellows out those intense earthy notes, and brings forward that familiar, comforting chocolatey flavor we all know and love. After roasting, the beans are processed similarly to cacao. They're ground up, and the fat is often separated to make cocoa butter and cocoa powder. So, when you see cocoa powder in the baking aisle, it's from beans that have been roasted to perfection. There's also another step that sometimes happens with cocoa, called Dutch processing or alkalizing. This process washes the cocoa powder with a solution that neutralizes its acidity. It makes the powder darker in color and gives it an even milder, smoother flavor, which is awesome for certain baking recipes. So we've got rawish and minimally processed cacao versus roasted and sometimes alkalized cocoa. This processing difference is where the big nutrition debate comes in. Cacao gets a ton of hype in the health and wellness world, and for good reason. Because it's processed at low temperatures, it hangs on to a ton of its antioxidants, especially flavonols. You've probably heard about flavonols there, the plant compounds linked to all sorts of health benefits, like improved heart health and brain function. According to research from places like the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, these compounds are most potent in their raw or minimally processed state. Cacao is also packed with minerals like magnesium, iron, and potassium. It's basically a superfood in chocolate form. But what about cocoa? Does roasting destroy all the good stuff? Not at all. Cocoa powder still has plenty of antioxidants and minerals. The roasting process does reduce the flavonol content. A bit that S, just what heat does but it S, far from being nutritionally empty. It's still a good source of fiber and those beneficial plant compounds. However, if you're looking for the absolute maximum nutritional punch, raw cacao is going to be your winner. But here's a pro tip. Dutch processed cocoa, that alkalized stuff, has an even lower antioxidant level because the process further reduces the flavonols. So, if you're trying to get some health benefits from your cocoa, you might want to look for natural cocoa powder instead of Dutch processed. Now, let us talk about the most important part for many of us, the flavor and how to use them. This is where it gets fun, because they really do have different jobs in the kitchen. Cacao, with its bold, sharp, and slightly bitter taste, is perfect when you want that flavor to be the star and you going for a health-conscious vibe. It's fantastic in smoothies. It adds a rich, chocolatey depth without any added sugar. It's also great in energy balls, raw desserts, or sprinkled on top of your oatmeal or yogurt bowl. It gives you that intense chocolate hit and makes you feel like you're redoing something good for your body. You're getting that superfood flex. Cocoa, on the other hand, is your go-to for traditional comfort baking. Its smoother, milder, and often sweeter profile is exactly what you want for things like cakes, cookies, and especially brownies. Because it's less bitter, it plays really well with sugar and other ingredients, creating that balanced, decadent dessert flavor we crave. And for hot chocolate, cocoa is king. It dissolves beautifully and creates that creamy, comforting drink that just feels like a hug in a mug. Using raw cacao in a classic brownie recipe might result in something a bit too intense or even gritty for some people, while using cocoa in a raw energy bite might not give you that punchy, healthy taste you're after. It's all about the mood and the desired outcome. Rich, dessert vibes. Grab the cocoa, bold, nutrient-dense boost, cacao's got your back. Okay, now for the plot twist. You'd think with all these differences, the terms cacao and cocoa would be strictly regulated, right? Wrong. Here's where it gets a little shady. There are no strict, legally binding definitions for these words in many places, including the US. The FDA doesn't have a hard and fast rule that says cacao must be raw and cocoa must be roasted. This means that sometimes brands will use the word cacao in their packaging simply because it sounds more premium, more natural, or more crunchy cool, as they say. It's a marketing tactic. They know that health-conscious consumers are looking for cacao and are often willing to pay more for it. So, how can you tell if you're getting the real deal? Your best bet is to become a label detective. Flip that package over and scan the ingredient list and the product description. Brands that are genuinely selling raw or minimally processed cacao will usually shout it from the rooftops. Look for words like raw, cold-pressed, or unroasted on the packaging. A shorter ingredient list is also a good sign. If you see cacao powder and it just says cacao, you're probably in good territory. If you see a long list of ingredients with lots of sugar and other additives, you're likely getting a more processed product, regardless of whether it says cacao or cocoa. Don't let the front of the package fool you. The back of the package tells the real story. So, let's bring it all together. Is one better than the other? Honestly, no. It's not about good versus bad. Cacao and cocoa are just two different expressions of the same amazing bean. It's like comparing green tea to black tea. They come from the same plant, but are processed differently to create unique flavors and properties. Your choice depends entirely on what you're looking for in that moment. Are you chasing the maximum nutritional benefits and a bold, intense flavor for your morning smoothie? Go for cacao. Are you trying to bake the most epic, fudgy, crowd-pleasing brownies for a party? Cocoa is your best friend. Understanding the difference empowers you as a consumer. Next time you're in the store, you won't just be staring at the labels in confusion. You'll know that the price difference often reflects the different processing methods and the resulting nutritional profile. You'll know that cacao suggests a raw, intense experience, while cocoa promises that classic, comforting chocolate taste. You'll know to check the back of the label to see what's really going on. You'll be a chocolate connoisseur, able to pick the perfect product for whatever you're making. And that's a pretty sweet skill to have. So go ahead, explore both worlds. Try making a smoothie with cacao one day and a hot cocoa with cocoa the next. See which one you prefer and when. At the end of the day, it's all chocolate and you really can't go wrong. Thanks so much for hanging out and geeking out about chocolate with me today. If you found this helpful, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the food we eat every day. See you in the next one.